Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real simple but real true. You don't need to flip your whole life upside down to make a difference. You just got to start small. Start small. Think big. It sounds simple, almost too simple, right? But the truth is, this mindset is where every major transformation begins. Too often, people get paralyzed by the size of their dreams. They look at the mountain and say, ain't no way I'm climbing that. They don't even take the first step because they're too focused on how long the journey looks. But let me tell you something. Every great thing you've ever admired in someone else, it started with something small, a seed, a spark, a whisper. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need the whole staircase, just the next step. Don't worry about writing the whole book, just write one page. Don't stress about running 5 miles, just walk around the block. Don't obsess over building $1 million business. Just make that first call. Just send that first email. Just take that first risk. People wait for the right time. They think when I have more money, more knowledge, more motivation, but the right time never comes gift wrapped. You create the right time by starting with what you've got. You may not have the full picture, and that's okay. You've just got to start with what's in your hand. See, when you start small, you build something powerful, momentum. And momentum is a game changer. One good choice leads to another. One disciplined day makes the next day easier. One small win gives you the confidence to go after something bigger. That's how the shift begins. Not with a bang, but with a quiet, consistent nudge. Think about it. A tiny drop of water can carve through stone over time. A small spark can ignite an entire wildfire. But you've got to be willing to believe that your small steps matter. You've got to treat them like they count, because they do. And let's be real, small doesn't mean easy. Sometimes the smallest habits are the hardest to keep. Waking up early when it's cold, saying no to comfort when it's right in front of you, taking the high road when the low one feels real tempting. That's why small doesn't mean insignificant. It means foundational. When you start small, it forces you to pay attention to the details, to develop discipline, to respect the process. You learn patience, humility, grit. You realize that success isn't just about talent or luck. It's about showing up even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. And while you're starting small, you keep your vision big. You don't shrink your dreams to match your current reality. You keep your eyes on the life you want, and you use these small habits as the vehicle to get there. One day, that small habit won't feel small anymore. It'll be second nature. It'll be the new standard. And by then, you'll already be building on it, stacking the next habit, reaching the next level. You don't plant a seed today and expect a tree tomorrow, but you water it anyway because you believe in the process. So go ahead, start small. It's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's how big things are built. One brick at a time, one decision at a time, one day at a time. Consistency over intensity is where the real magic happens, but it's also where most people mess up. You see, we live in a world that celebrates big gestures, the overnight transformations, the viral success stories, the go hard or go home mentality. People want to burn bright, go all in, flip the switch, and suddenly be the best version of themselves. But what happens after that burst of energy? They burn out, they stop, they disappear. Why? Because intensity is temporary. It's fueled by emotion. But consistency, that's what builds legacy. You can hit the gym once and go all out, lift heavy, run like you're training for the Olympics. But what happens if you don't show up the next day or the day after that? Your body doesn't care about how hard you worked once. It cares about what you do regularly. One salad won't make you healthy, just like one burger won't ruin you. It's what you do most of the time that defines your direction. People underestimate the power of showing up even when they're not at 100%. They think if they can't give it their all, they shouldn't give anything at all. But that's the trap. Success isn't built by doing everything perfectly. It's built by doing the right things consistently, even if you're tired, even if you don't feel like it, even if the results aren't showing yet. Let me break it down. If you do a little bit every day, even if it feels like it's not enough, you're still getting further than the person who does a lot once in a while. You're moving the needle. You're building a rhythm. You're creating habits that don't rely on hype or emotion, but on discipline. Think about a river. A powerful rushing flood might come and go, but it's the steady flow of water day after day that carves valleys, shapes landscapes, and creates deep, lasting impact. That's what consistency does. It works quietly. It doesn't beg for attention, but over time, its results are undeniable. Consistency builds trust, not just with other people, but with yourself. Every time you show up, even in a small way, you prove to yourself that you can count on you. That self-trust, that's what unlocks everything else. Because once you know you can keep your own word, you start believing you're capable of more. And let's be real, motivation is flaky. It comes and goes like the weather. You can't depend on it. But consistency creates structure. It builds momentum. It takes the guesswork out of the game. You don't have to think about whether you feel like doing it. You just do it because it's part of who you are now. That's how champions are built. That's how winners are made. As long as you're moving, as long as you could be crawling some days, you could be dragging yourself to do the bare minimum, that still counts, that still stacks. Because even on your worst days, if you stay consistent, you're still ahead of everyone who quit. So forget the fireworks, forget the drama, be the quiet storm, be the one who keeps showing up. Let others burn out chasing fast results while you build something that lasts. Because in the long run, consistency will outlast intensity every single time. Discipline beats motivation every single time, and here's why. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings come and go. One day you're fired up, ready to conquer the world, and the next day you're tired, distracted, or just not in the mood. You can't build your life around a mood. You can't trust motivation to carry you through on the days when life gets hard, when stress piles up, when the goal feels too far away. That's where discipline steps in. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline shows up anyway. People wait for motivation like it's some magical wind that's going to blow them into greatness. But what if the wind never comes? What if you wake up and the fire just isn't there? That's the difference between someone who only works when they feel like it and someone who works regardless of how they feel. Discipline is the muscle that gets stronger every time you use it. It's the decision to do what needs to be done, not just when it's convenient, but especially when it's not. Motivation might get you started, but discipline is what gets you across the finish line. Think about athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, the best of the best. They didn't get to the top because they were motivated every day. They got there because they trained, practiced, and showed up even when they didn't want to. They didn't rely on hype, they relied on habits. That's the game changer, because when you build discipline, your actions aren't tied to emotion. They're tied to commitment. Let's say you got a goal, get fit, start a business, write a book. In the beginning, it's exciting. You've got that fresh energy. But a few weeks in, the excitement wears off. The results are slow. You're tired. You want to skip a day, maybe two. That's where most people fall off because motivation left the building. But if you've built discipline, you're not even asking yourself how you feel. You're not negotiating with your goals. You just do it because it's what you said you'd do. Discipline is keeping the promise you made to yourself long after the mood you made it in has faded. It's saying, I don't feel like it, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's power. That's how you take control of your life. Because the truth is, if you only work when you're motivated, you'll never be consistent. And without consistency, there is no growth. Discipline builds momentum. You show up once, you feel a little better. You show up again, it gets easier. You show up over and over, and now it's a routine. It's who you are. You don't need to think about it. You just do it. And ironically, the more disciplined you become, the more often motivation shows up. Because now it's not about forcing it. It's about flow. It's about being in alignment with who you've trained yourself to be. Discipline doesn't mean perfection. It means persistence. It means being willing to keep going, even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when nobody's watching, because that's when character is built. That's when you prove to yourself that you can be trusted. And that kind of self-trust, that's the foundation of real confidence. At the end of the day, motivation is a visitor. It might stop by, it might not, but discipline is family. It lives with you. It stays when things get tough. And if you got that, You don't need to wait for inspiration. You don't need a perfect morning. You don't need hype. You just get to work. And that's exactly how results are made. Celebrate small wins, not because they're the end goal, but because they're proof you're moving. They're proof that you're showing up, that you're making progress, that you're staying in the game. And in a world that glorifies massive success and big milestones, it's easy to overlook the little victories. But the truth is, big results are just small wins stacked on top of each other, day after day, choice after choice, effort after effort. Most people make the mistake of only celebrating when they cross the finish line, when the goal is complete, when they hit the number, lose the weight, get the promotion, launch the business. But the danger in that mindset is this: if you only reward yourself when you arrive, you miss out on the fuel that keeps you going. You train your brain to believe that nothing matters until it's perfect. And that kind of thinking can kill momentum before it even starts. Every step you take in the right direction deserves acknowledgement. Got out of bed when you didn't want to? That's a win. Drank water instead of soda? That's a win. Said no to a distraction? That's a win. Opened the laptop and started writing even if it wasn't perfect? That's a win. These moments might seem tiny, but they're building something. They're proof that you're not stuck, that you're choosing growth, that you're laying bricks one decision at a time. And here's the truth. Progress isn't always loud. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it looks like showing up when nobody's clapping. Sometimes it looks like doing the work with no reward in sight. But if you wait for applause to feel good about your effort, you'll lose steam fast. Celebrating small wins isn't about ego, it's about energy. It's about creating a system of encouragement that keeps you moving forward. This is especially important when the journey feels long, when the mountain is high and you still got miles to climb. Recognizing your progress gives you a second wind. It reminds you that even though you're not there yet, you're not where you started. And that's something, that's growth, that's motion, that's momentum you can build on. Celebrating doesn't mean throwing a party every time you do the right thing. It can be as simple as pausing for a moment and saying, I did that. It can be writing it down, checking it off, taking a breath of pride. It's telling yourself, I'm on the path. That self-acknowledgement builds confidence, and confidence builds consistency. It turns a chore into a choice. It turns hard work into a habit. Think about how you cheer on a friend or a child learning something new. You wouldn't wait until they were an expert to clap. You'd celebrate the first step, the first effort, the first sign of courage. You'd say, look at you go. So why don't we talk to ourselves like that? Why don't we give ourselves that same kind of grace, that same kind of celebration? Because when you honor the small wins, you train your brain to find joy in the process, not just the result. And when the process becomes something you enjoy, you're no longer chasing success out of desperation. You're walking toward it with pride, one win at a time. So celebrate early, celebrate often, not because the work is done, but because you're doing it. You're building, you're becoming. And that's worth recognizing every single day. And that's what it all comes down to. The small, everyday decisions, the small wins, the small habits. They may not seem like much in the moment, but when you look back, you'll see they were the building blocks of something incredible. Remember, big results don't happen overnight. They come from showing up, staying disciplined, and celebrating every little step along the way. So embrace the process, trust the journey, and never underestimate the power of a small habit, a small win, or a small step in the right direction, because when you add them up, they'll take you farther than you ever imagined. Keep moving, keep growing, and keep celebrating, because your big results are already on the way. Time compounds results in a way that's almost invisible at first, but becomes undeniable over the long run. Most people are chasing quick wins, instant gratification, overnight success. They want the body, the money, the skill, the lifestyle, and they want it now. But the truth is, the real rewards, the ones that last, they come to the people who understand how powerful time really is when it works with you, not against you. You've heard of compound interest, right? It's not about how much you invest once, it's about how long you let it grow. The same principle applies to everything in life. Your habits, your choices, your efforts, they may look small day by day, But when repeated over months or years, they create results that are far greater than the sum of their parts. The tricky part, at the beginning, it looks like nothing is happening. You work out for a month and your body barely changes. You read every morning, but you don't feel smarter. You build your business step by step, but the money's not rolling in yet. That's where most people quit, because they can't see the results they expected in the time they expected them. But what they miss is that the value of time isn't in the early days, it's in the build-up. It's in the momentum. The longer you stay consistent, the more the effects begin to multiply. That's when progress goes from linear to exponential. The results that seem so far away at the beginning suddenly come faster than you imagine, because the work you put in months ago is now working for you, not against you. That's the power of compounding. It's slow, it's quiet, but it's relentless. And it rewards patience more than anything else. Think about someone who learns one new thing every day. Not a big, groundbreaking idea, just one small insight. That's 365 new ideas in a year. Imagine how much stronger their thinking will be, how much sharper their judgment becomes. Or someone who puts away just a little money every month. Nothing crazy, but they do it religiously for years. One day they wake up and realize they've got freedom, options. So that didn't happen from a big lottery win. It came from quiet, steady discipline. It's easy to overlook the small wins because they don't shout. They don't come with applause. But every time you do the right thing, even when you don't have to, you're investing in your future. You're making deposits into the account of your goals. And while it might seem slow now, one day that account will start to pay back in ways that surprise you. Time either becomes your greatest ally or your biggest enemy. If you waste it, it compounds in regret. If you use it wisely, it compounds in reward. Every day you delay starting, the curve moves further out. But every day you stay committed, that curve starts to bend in your favor. It rewards the people who are willing to plant the seed and keep watering it, even when nothing's blooming yet. That's why you can't measure progress by what you see today. You have to trust the curve. You have to believe that the time you're putting in now, even if it feels small or slow, is setting up a future that will be much bigger than you can imagine right now. Because time isn't just passing by. It's either building with you or slipping away from you. And once you understand how much it can give you when you stay consistent, you stop looking for quick fixes. You start playing the long game. And that's when real success shows up. Replace, don't remove. That's the key to lasting change. See, when most people try to break a bad habit or change their lifestyle, they start by trying to cut something out completely. They go cold turkey. They say, I'm never doing this again, or that's it, I'm done with that. And while the intention is strong, the method is flawed. Because when you remove something without replacing it, you leave behind a gap. And gaps don't stay empty for long. They get filled, usually by the same thing you tried to get rid of or something just as bad. You don't beat a bad habit by fighting it. You beat it by building a better one in its place. You don't just stop scrolling social media. You start reading, creating, or moving your body. You don't just stop snacking. You start drinking water, chewing gum, taking a walk. You don't just eliminate the behavior. You redirect the energy. Because let's be real, habits don't form out of nowhere. They serve a purpose. Even the ones you're trying to break, they give you something: comfort, escape, stimulation, relief. You can't just strip that away and expect nothing to happen. Your brain's going to crave that same reward. So instead of removing the habit, replace it with something that meets the same need, but in a better way. You're not just trying to take something out of your life, you're trying to upgrade it. And upgrades don't happen through restriction alone. They happen through substitution. If you're used to late night junk food, replace it with a healthier snack or a night routine that helps you wind down. If your mornings start with stress and chaos, replace them with a short ritual, even 5 minutes of journaling, stretching, or stillness. It doesn't have to be big, it just has to be intentional. The reason most people can't stick with change is because they try to subtract without adding. They create a void, and the void pulls them right back to where they started. That's why diets fail. That's why resolutions break. That's why willpower runs out. It's not just about saying no, it's about giving yourself something better to say yes to. Your environment plays into this too. If you want to stop wasting time on your phone, don't just delete the app. Replace that screen time with a book or a walk or a real conversation. If you want to stop procrastinating, don't just sit there staring at your to-do list. Start with one tiny, doable action. Replacing doesn't mean it'll be easy, but it gives your brain something to grab onto, something new to focus on, something positive to build on. And this goes deeper than just habits. It touches identity too. When you stop doing something, you can feel like you're losing a part of yourself. But when you replace it with something better, you feel like you're becoming someone new, someone stronger, someone more focused, more disciplined, more in control. This is how transformation really works, not through punishment, but through redirection, not through deprivation, but through elevation. You don't grow by constantly tearing things down. You grow by building something better in their place. So when you're ready to make a change, don't just think about what you're removing. Ask yourself, what am I replacing this with? What am I choosing instead? Because at the end of the day, nature hates a vacuum. And your mind is the same way. You can't leave space and hope for the best. You have to be intentional. You have to fill it with something meaningful. And when you do, that's when change sticks. That's when growth happens. That's when the shift becomes real.